On behalf of our board of directors, our staff, and the youth that we strive to impact on a daily basis, I am here to welcome you to our first and annual Parent Night. And the Parent Night conversation is designed with panelists to talk about the scholar athlete. So to my Trojans, while we have individuals that are up speaking and someone's at the microphone talking, I need your eyes and your ears up here. I need your minds thinking actively, so if you have questions, and I want your vision to open up and start dreaming about your next steps and things like that. To the other individuals that are new here at the Palmetto Youth Center, I just want to give you a little bit of history. That's getting on my nerve. Back in 1957, a group of minority individuals, help us out, guys. That's what it's all about, growing each and every day. That's why we're here. In 1957, a group of minority individuals came together and started what we have here, the Palmetto Youth Center. Now, due to the fact that the night is centered about the scholar athlete, I'm reminded of some of the people that have actually came through the Palmetto Youth Center that were scholar athletes and used the athletics, the ball, whether or not it's a football, a basketball, or even cheer, to transition into their academic world as far as college or trade school after high school. In 1967, the color barrier as far as the first minority athlete to sign a football scholarship at the University of Miami came through the Palmetto Youth Center, and his name was Raymond Bellamy. And yes, I'm proud to say that is my uncle, but we have to think about the impact that the Palmetto Youth Center has had. But the list, help us out. Going once? Good. But the list goes on. In the mid-70s, one of our very own here that sits here and works at the Palmetto Youth Center right now, Tony Stevens, signed the athletic scholarship to the University of Florida. So he's aware of the things that take place as far as the scholar athlete. And if you go to name all of the athletes that have come through the Palmetto Youth Center, I think about Tommy Frazier, who lived and grew up right down the road. Peter Ward came through here. Patrick McNeil, which is one of the great FSU players and won a national championship. Tyrone Williams, who comes to the Palmetto Youth Center and was fortunate enough to win a high school state championship, a college national championship, and even 2 Super Bowls. And this is the impact that the Palmetto Youth Center has come along. Now you think about some more recent individuals. Tina Stevens, who signed with Kansas, and I cannot remember where Trey Clark signed it, but I know he played on our 2013 national championship team, but he also came through as an academic and athletic scholarship individual where the Palmetto Youth Center impacted his life. So why are we here? We're here to welcome all of you all, but more important, we're here to give you all an understanding of the academic part of the student athlete. So my job is to welcome you, welcome our visitors, and welcome all the panelists. Thank you all for coming.
Good evening. I am Mr. Omar Edwards, Associate Director of Strategic Planning and Initiatives for the School District of Manatee County. I am a product of the School District of Manatee County, so I sat in the same seats that you're in. So our occasion this evening, you heard a little bit about it, but we're here to educate you. So we ask that we have your undivided attention so that you can learn something this evening. Because it's not all about the sports, even though a lot of times that gravitates you here. And it worked for me because I received a full athletic scholarship to Ole Miss University. So you can use this to pay for the cost of your education only if you listen. At this time, I would like to introduce our Deputy Superintendent over Curriculum and Instruction, Mr. Derek Jensen. If you'll stand and wave at this time. So you see that we have district support here this evening. We have also Mr. Willie Clark, Executive Director of Secondary Education. He's in the back. And you're going to hear our panelist introduction shortly when we introduce the moderator. We have some behavior norms for this evening, and I'm going to go over them at this time. And I need you to honor them. Number one, we're going to listen fully with our ears, eyes, and heart. I'm going to say that again. We're going to listen fully. That means you keep your mouth closed, your ears open, and your eyes open. And open up your heart so that you can receive this wonderful knowledge that you're going to receive this evening. We are committed to continuous learning. You never stop learning. We are committed to continuous learning. The next one is probably one of the biggest ones you're ever going to hear. Regardless of your intention, you are responsible for your impact. Let me say that again so it can sink in. Regardless of your intention, no matter what you want to do, you're responsible for your impact. If you're not successful, you can't blame anyone else. You have far too many resources that are at your fingertips. We're going to ask you to lean into the conversations because toward the end, you're going to get a chance, and parents as well, to ask any question that you may have because we want to bridge the gap to really be here as a resource for you. So if you have questions, you may ask at that time. So those are our behavior norms. You have the program printed before you. We're not going to be here all night, so it's really important that you listen to the things that you need to listen to. You have the order that we're going to go in, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see a self-check for student athletes. So the self-checklist on your right-hand side, that's what you need to complete tonight. And you need to reflect on what you learned here today. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Tara Brown. She's one of our assistant directors in our Human Resources Department.
So let me just say, Mr. Edwards had to separate the crowd in the back. Being a former school administrator, you probably are going to feel that tomorrow. When you have visitors in your house, you are supposed to be on your very best behavior. I am going to follow the norms that Mr. Edwards set forth. I expect for your mouths to be closed and your ears to be open. You have 8 people sitting here before you that want to give you knowledge to help you succeed. Raise your hand. Don't open your mouths, but raise your hand if you play football. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you play basketball. Okay. Raise your hands if you're a cheerleader. I think that's the hardest sport of all, I'm just saying. All right, hands down. Raise your hand if you play volleyball, soccer, baseball, So I see nothing but athletes in here. The people who are sitting here are going to tell you how to take it to the next level. Because if you want to be a professional athlete, if you even want to go to college on a scholarship for being an athlete, they're here to tell you how to do that. So I'm going to introduce the panel first of all. We have Miss Monica DeLesline, the principal of Palmetto High School. We have Miss Kathia Johnson, the principal of Palmview K-8. Mr. Brad Scarborough, the principal of Buffalo Creek Middle School. Ronnie King, the principal of Lincoln Memorial Middle School. We have Mr. Richard West, the head football coach of Palmetto High. Mr. West, you got the loudest yell, so you know what that means. The question's coming to you, my friend. All right, Mr. John Morrell, Senior, Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Lorenzo Waiters, the captain of Palmetto Police Department. All right, elementary school, Bubbles and Wings. Let us get Bubbles and Wings right now, because I'm getting ready to start with the questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And last but not least, you always save the best for last, Miss Tabitha Ball, Chief Operating Officer of MCR Health Services. All right. And we also have one of our, I feel some lapse in some of y'all futures. If you talking. All right, and last but not least, definitely, we have one of our school board members here, Miss Cindy Spray. All right, and now we will begin with the questions. And as I ask the questions, our panelists will jump in to answer them. Question 1, what is the biggest factor that has helped you achieve success in life? So, what did you do to become successful? One of y'all know, somebody. You got a mic.
Okay, I'll answer that question. Again, my name is Tabitha Ball. I moved here from Jacksonville, Florida, so I am new to the area. But one of the things that made me successful in my career is because when I started, so I was in school, I was a cheerleader the whole time. I was also a cheerleader in college. But when I went to college, my sister passed. So I had 2 daughters, and my sister had 2 daughters. So I ended up raising 4 girls as babies. I still continued my success in going to school because I wanted to make sure I had a degree to take care of the 4 girls and to make sure I became something to take care of my household. So the fact that I had to raise 4 girls with their father, my 2 girls' father being deceased as well, I had to do it solo. So that gave me the energy and the desire to do all that I could to take care of those girls and make sure they became something.
I will tell you one of the most important things is to always finish what you start. Never be a quitter. And also take on new challenges. Try something you have never tried before your entire life. I will tell you that I've been doing this job for almost 45 years. And in that 45 years, I I had the opportunity to become a canine handler, which I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it and I finished. I became a hostage negotiator. I had no idea what I was doing, but I started and I completed. As I tell my kids, and as I will tell you, always finish what you start.
One of the factors that I contribute my success is hard work. I know you use it in sports a lot of time, hard work pays off. And that is a very true statement because I applied it to my life. I wasn't the smartest kid in school, but I always wanted to go somewhere. In order to go somewhere, I had to make it happen. Hard work. And when I started working to the sheriff's department, I just didn't want to settle for just being at the level of being a deputy. I wanted to make sure that I do something to contribute back to the community. And the only way I could do some of the things I wanted to do was to actually get promoted. And I had to go back to work again, hard work. And it paid off. Retired in 2016. Some of you don't even know what that is when you say retired. That means I don't have to work. Don't have to work. But I wanted to come back because I had some more work to be done. A lot of work. And I'm glad y'all quiet down because we got some very important things to share with you tonight. And the only way you're going to get it if you listen. You got to listen.
All right, I'm going to go to the next question. What are some daily routines that you use to help you achieve success? So what are some things that you do that you feel is a routine that's helped you to be successful?
Me? All right, I was just saying this, our principal. One thing that's a daily routine or a habit for me is I've always been an early riser. I like to think of myself getting more done before most people get out of bed every day. I mean, I'll be up at 4:15 tomorrow trying to get things done and get things accomplished. And that's just something that I think it was instilled in me playing college football, playing high school football. We were always on a schedule. But even now in my professional career, I'm up early every day trying to get things done. And I think it's helped contribute to whatever we consider the success that we've had or that I've had. But that's been a major part of it, just staying on that routine. And it's hard. It's never easy. And I'll be here tonight and I'll be up at 4:15 tomorrow. And we'll be on the field at 5:30 for practice in the morning. And it's hard. But it's contributed to whatever the success has been we've had and I've had.
Success is not something that I, at this time, really consider myself to have attained because I'm yet working towards something. But every day when I get up on my way to work, one of the things I do is I make sure I listen to something that's going to focus my mind. I listen to scripture. And that's every morning on my way to work. I have to listen to that because when I come in, I need to come in fresh. Every day is a new day. Another thing I've done is I've eliminated things that I'm not doing. So when I look at my life in its entirety, I only do 3 things. And if it comes outside of those 3 things, I really don't have time for it. The 3 things I do is education, family, ministry. Anything that does not fall within those parameters, I'm probably not going to do it. Going to play golf, I'm probably not doing that unless it's with family, with ministry, or with education. Once you know exactly what it is that you want to do, you have to focus on that and eliminate the distractions. I have a quote around the school that say distractions are easy to find. You can always make room for them. But if you eliminate the distractions, the road is narrow that's going to lead you to success.
Mr. West, I think this one is for you. What qualities do you look for in a student athlete, in a scholar athlete? And how do you look at those students who have the physical abilities? They can catch a ball, they can throw a ball, but they lack the drive for instruction. So they don't care what goes on in the classrooms, they don't want to read, they don't want to go to class. How do you look at your scholar athletes and motivate them to have that instructional piece be just as important?
So the first part, what qualities you look for in a scholar athlete? And I heard when Mr. Edwards here, he talked about his opportunity to go play college football. Obviously, we know Mr. Clark here had to play football at higher levels than we all did. But I think all those people that have that opportunity have certain things in common. And one is discipline in all facets of their life. Like, it's going to take discipline, no matter what it is that we're doing. And I think the guys that make it, and make it to the highest level, or maximize the most of their abilities, it's centered around their personal discipline day in and day out. Whether it's in the classroom, it's the ability to wake up when you don't want to, or go work out when you don't want to, or do the extra thing. You just continue to have that discipline daily. And as I look around from my time of being a football coach, whether it's here or the small college level, the guys that have made it and that have had the most success, they've all had that in common. They've had a tremendous work ethic, and they were disciplined in every facet of their life. Now, did that mean they were perfect? Did that mean they didn't get in trouble? No, that's not what it meant. But they understood the main thing was the main thing, and nothing got in the way of the main thing. So when we have those kids in my locker room at that point, and we do have several, and I've had several over time, it's trying to get them to understand that at some point, someone else is going to be as talented as you are. But what's going to set you apart, you separate that, is just going to be your attention to detail and your discipline and your work ethic. So we try to get them to understand that and to see that. And sometimes it's challenging in a high school locker room because you may not have another kid who's as good as that kid we may be referring to, so they can get by on just doing things the way they are doing them. So you try to show them and pull examples. Now that the internet, the world's at our fingertips, because we can see people across the state doing the same things, trying to achieve the same things. We're able to show them what others are doing and how much harder they're going to need to work, or how much more attention to detail or discipline they're going to need to be successful, when when they do have the athletic ability, but they're not taking care of everything else, every other part of their life.
This is for anyone on the panel. Who has been a role model for you and why?
So growing up, I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club over at DeSoto and over here at Palmetto. And one of the people there who had a great impact on me as I went through the club was a gentleman by the name of Carl Weeks. And Carl was in the club in many different capacities. When I was y'all's age, he was my club director. And he gave me my first job at 13. I was working the little book room. Kids bring their backpacks in. We'd give them a number. And that's what I did for 2 hours every day. I got paid $2.50 an hour. It's been a while, guys, over 30 years. But what he taught me throughout all my years of high school and college, and even now, he taught me to value people, hard work. He also taught me how to believe in myself. He gave me challenges to do and things to do that I had to figure out on my own to gain that confidence and not be afraid. That's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to try something. And we talk several times a month, and that message is still there.
The people in my life that were my mentors were my parents. Both my parents worked over 30 years at the same job, retired, and it goes to what some of the things that we said here at the board. So as he said, discipline. There was discipline in our household. As Mr. King, talked about religion, there was religion in our household. So all those things that my parents gave us, it was it helped me raise my kids. So they were my mentors in my entire family.
I would say when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily have a mentor, but I had passion to help other people. And so the passion that I had to help other people made me a servant leader and want to be able to, people in our community, children that I saw. I worked sometime with the homeless population. So my passion is what drove me to, as my mentorship. But as I've grown older, I read different inspirations. I try to read, but passion for me, and if you find something that you really like to do or something that you have enjoy doing, you want to try to see how that can make you better, help you grow, and help you to be successful.
What do you consider your most outstanding leadership quality? So what makes you a good leader?
Well, actually, to piggyback on what Ms. Ball said, she mentioned servant leadership. And so I think that's so critical when we're willing to, roll up our sleeves and serve others and work alongside of them and work as hard. I would say that probably is something that I have strived for and I continue to strive for every day as a leader. Because it's one thing to stand up and just tell people what to do. It's another thing to get down and get the work done beside people and to pick people up. And that builds into, an athlete as well when you think about, the characteristics, that you were looking for in athletes. And I love that you said discipline. In addition to that, we look for that teamwork and that selflessness. It's not about me. It's not always about winning. It's about how can I move my team. And so, that's critical, when I think about qualities in leaders. And then transferring that to the field. I played softball. I started playing softball when I was 5. My parents told me early on if I wanted to go to college, I needed to go on a scholarship, academic or sports. And I made it my mission to get both. Because I knew as a student athlete that there could be somebody beside me being recruited that was better than me. But if I came with an academic scholarship too, then I felt like that college didn't have to spend as much money on me for my athletic scholarship. So, fortunately, I was blessed enough to be able to go on academics and scholarship full ride. And it was a great experience. But when I think about that servant leadership, when I think about that teamwork, that discipline and that drive, those are all so critical in our journey as athletes, because it's at the end of the day, it's not just about winning a game, right? It's about building up others, but also creating the person you want to be. And I'll tell you, I decided and learned that I was a leader on the ball field before I ever became a leader as an adult. So that was critical to me.
How has service and community involvement contributed to your success? So how do you give back to your community? What organizations are you all a part of?
Myself, I'm involved in a couple of different organizations. One is Centerstone. If you're not familiar with Centerstone, it deals with sexual assault. It deals with people with mental illness. So I sit on the board of directors for that. I also part of Manatee Bridging the Gap, myself and John Morrell.
Giving back is a big part of me. Service, I'm gonna give you the short list. Part of Take Stock in Children, which is a mentoring program, visiting a student one time out of the week, 30 minutes, checking grades. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, another mentoring program. Bridging the Gap, which he already said. We got some representatives here. Brothers to Brothers, it's another organization that I'm a part of. And while I'm on that, I know you're getting a little rowdy. This past breakfast, we had a seminar, we had a breakfast, and the topic was accountability and responsibility. I don't know how many parents I have here, but that's where it starts at. You are your child's first and best teacher. We got to take this thing back to the home. Every organization, the schools, law enforcement, government agency, we're your support. We want to see success in your child. We want them to be the best student that they ever can be. We want to be the best athletes that they can be. We work together. I was just thinking when I was coming here, I said, Manatee County can set the tone in the state of Florida for doing things that nobody ever can accomplish. We got all the resources. All we got to do is put it together. This is a wonderful place to live, to go to school, if we just put it together, work together. You have a problem, you share it. We team up, we work it out. That's what it's all about. If you want to have success as on an individual level, but it also goes back to a community too. We want to have success in our community by working together.
In Jim Collins's book, Good to Great, he said the key to success is a triangular shape. So one, you have to find what it is that you're passionate about. Two, what is it that you can really be successful in, you can be the best at? And three, what is it that can get you the return that you want? Well, what community service has done is it helped me find my passion. When you go out and you serve others, whether it's feeding those that are hungry, working with those who may not have, it touches you in a way that makes you passionate about the right things. The reality is, most athletes, their athletic careers will be just about done by the time they're 30 years old. But then you have to go on and live your life. And in this climate, we may live to be 80, 90, 100 years old. When Mr. Bellamy mentioned his uncle, Ray Bellamy, something that we work with Ray on every year for Thanksgiving. We give out about 300 boxes of food to those in this community. When you start serving others, that's where you find your passion, and that's where I found my passion. Started at a young age with my father and my mother, and from that, I came up with my life mission, which is really to make a difference in the lives of others, both naturally as well as spiritually.
Mr. Morrell talked a little bit about parents and the impact that parents have. So what role did your parents play in your success as a student athlete?
My parents, old school parents, didn't play at all. I knew what my schedule was on Sunday was gonna be, and with no doubt about it, it was up for Sunday school, church all day.
Oh, yeah.
Monday school time, you ain't gonna be late. Come home, you got chores to do. That's what my parents, and I appreciate them for that. I love them dearly for being parents. They was my model. They was the role model that I seen, and I wanted to really be exactly like them. So when you hear me say some things, I'm old school because of them. Some things just ain't gonna change. I know we in a different era, but the way my parents brought me up, I appreciate them. And I'm gonna share this real quickly. I get emotional. when I say this. Love your parents. Love them. Please. January the 4th of this year, 10 o'clock at night, I got a phone call. My dad was in the hospital with a major stroke. Major stroke. When I went into the room, I went in there for 2 weeks. I never heard a word my daddy said. I talked with him, I prayed with him. He never responded. 2 weeks. The family got together, we was going to make arrangements because they had said there's nothing else we can do for your dad. And I told my dad I'd share his story every chance that I get. On the 16th of January, that was the deciding day that everything was going to be taken away. On the 16th, God had a different plan. I got a phone call from a doctor and said, I saw your dad's eyes move. I hadn't seen my dad's eyes move in 2 weeks. I didn't even get excited. I was on a cell phone. I got to the hospital. I'm looking at him, and I seen a sight I'd never seen before. He opened his eyes. That's priceless. That means I got a second chance to be with my dad. We coming out here just to encourage you to do the best that you can and love your parents. You never know. I never knew that that moment was going to be facing, I was going to be facing that moment, and I thank God that he gave us a second chance. I said, I got old school parents. I got old school parents, and I love them for it. That's why I'm sitting and I'm wearing what I'm wearing, because of them. I wanted to give back. I want to give back.
I could piggyback on that. My parents were very strict, and I appreciated that, because if nothing else, I learned the importance of respect. I learned the importance of work ethic, but then I also learned to love people. And so I think that's where that servant leadership and you know, that success on the ball field came as an athlete, because I knew that I wasn't just there about me. I was there playing a sport with other people, and we were in this together. But work ethic, I mean, you mentioned getting up early, Coach. I mean, as an athlete, if you were 10 minutes early to practice time, you were late, right? So that discipline and that knowing that it is a sign of disrespect when I don't show up on time was so critical. And I thank my parents for teaching me that as well. But at the end of the day, I remember my mom taught me that girls can be tough and play hard too. So I will never forget that. I learned that my dad said, life's hard and you're not perfect and you're gonna make mistakes, but the worst thing you can do is sit there, doubt yourself, and not make a decision. And then both of them taught me resiliency and never to quit. And, you know, especially in sports, when you think about Michael Jordan and the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of basketball shots he missed. Nobody talks about that, right? They just talk about the greatest of all time. And so, you know, having that resiliency, having that discipline, that work ethic, that level of respect, I think I'm just thankful that I had, you know, two parents that I won't say beat me into that, but I had two parents that held me to high expectations, and they modeled that as well. So I'm grateful for that too.
Athletic ability is only one of the important components for achieving success as an athlete. How does a student prepare to become a D1 athlete?
Okay. I thought we were all in education up here.
D1 athlete.
All right. Well, a part of that question, which honestly, to be honest with you, kind of rubs me, makes me feel some sort of way, is we always talk about Division I. Like there's nothing else. Like there's D1 or you just don't play anymore. Like you're D1 or you live at home. And there's so much more to athletics than being a Division I athlete. There's so many other levels of competitive athletics at the collegiate level where you can go on and get a good education And if it's in the cards, continue to play after that. So I hate the D1 or bust mentality. Somehow we've become that in society. That's just not fair. I think this is more of a question, and we have a lot of pre-high school kids here, which is great, and we have some parents here. As I read that question, you know, you guys give it to me, and ultimately it's always, let's ask the coach, how does he become a D1 athlete? Well, there's so much more to it. And we alluded to parents earlier, or getting adults involved. The number one thing, if you ask me, if the kid's got ability, how does he prepare to become a Division I athlete, is figure out what classes he's taking. How can he have success in school? Because I have so many kids year in and year out, and they're not going to say it in the media, they're not going to say it publicly, but he would have had this opportunity, but his grades weren't in line. He would have had this opportunity. He didn't take the right classes that are NCAA compliant, or he doesn't have a test score, or he's still struggling to pass the high school graduation standards, and he's, you know, we're working around to get him out of high school. And those aren't the things, we don't talk about that on social media because we're not going to embarrass a kid, which I understand. And I certainly agree with that. But as we talk about someone that's talented, how do we prepare? There's 100 of them in my locker room. Most parents have one of them in our locker room. Getting the parents involved, having someone on campus that has an interest in the kid beyond how fast he runs, how far he can throw the ball, that's going to look at his class load, make sure he's taking the right things so that if he's afforded or she's afforded that opportunity, they can accept it. And that's the biggest thing. Because if the talent's there, it's everything else we have to. And the final thing is make sure they've got the right attitude towards the whole process. Their whole approach and their attitude has to be in the right spot if they want to do this. Because they don't realize that this year I've got 16 seniors. There's 800 schools in Florida that have 16 seniors. You're competing with that many people for that few amount of opportunities. So make yourself as attractive as possible, whether it's academically and your attitude and all of those things, so that if you're afforded an opportunity, you can accept it. But it really starts with, as they start getting into high school, and we've got younger kids here and parents here, you can't dig yourself a hole in the ninth grade academically. You dig yourself a hole in the ninth grade academically, you won't play again until you're a junior or senior. And you're not going to put yourself in a position to accept whatever may be there for you. So when you talk about how do you prepare to be whatever level college athlete, it starts when you get there. It starts with your coursework. It starts with making sure you're on the right track.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Dexter McDonald, and as I sit here, I think about I grew up on this street on 17th Street. I grew up playing basketball right here at Palmetto Youth Center. But when I think of Division I athletes, I think of one word: discipline. And when I speak of discipline, I speak of discipline more than just as an athlete. I speak of discipline in your behavior. I speak of discipline with your academics. And then, you know, there are a lot of students that have a lot of talent that never make it to D1. And we wonder why they don't make it. Well, it starts with their discipline. And, you know, right now where you are, you can become whatever you want to become if you put your mind to it. And the other thing is work ethics. You know, when you talk about Michael Jordan, one thing Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they all have in common: their work ethics. And they believed in themselves. And right now, as you sit there, you can become anything that you want to become if you're willing to discipline yourself and work at it. You have the ability to become a doctor. Whatever you want to become, you have the ability to become. And an athlete, you know, you only talk about 1 in a million. They may make it to the NBA or the NFL. But you can do whatever you want to do. But it starts with the word discipline. Thank you.
So as Mr. West was talking, it kind of brought back some memories for me. I have one child. University of Florida is considered an Ivy League Florida College. My daughter said at 3 years old, I'm going to University of Florida. It is the only place she applied to. And as her mama, I was scared for her because those kids go into schools with 4.3 and 4.4 GPAs. But she had what they said. She believed in herself. And she went to University of Florida. And she graduated. But parents, I challenge you too, when your child gets in 9th grade, schedule a meeting with the guidance counselor. In the 10th grade, schedule a meeting with the guidance counselor. In the 11th grade, schedule a meeting with the guidance counselor. Make sure that they know who you are. It doesn't matter what school your child goes to. Schedule those meetings and stay on top of it. And don't let them give your children no aid classes, because that's not going to get them in college. Okay? All right, my last question, because we're running out of time. What characteristics do you feel are necessary to contribute to the success of any team? What characteristic makes a successful team?
Well, I think the word is attitude. And I always used to tell the youth that your attitude determines your altitude. Well, what do you mean by that? What I mean by your altitude is how far you go in life. You can be talented, but if you have a bad attitude, you're not going to make it. I remember some athletes in Manatee High School. They were very, very, very talented. But I remember those athletes, they would take their helmets, slam them against the bench, and the coach called them to him and set them down on the bench and let them know that your attitude will not overtake this team. And so your attitude determines your altitude. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're dealing with, always have a positive attitude and you will succeed. Thank you.
I'll jump in on this a little bit too, because as a team member, you have to remember you're carrying a certain amount of weight for your team. Example we had last year, unfortunately, we had a pretty stellar team, but unfortunately some members of this particular team made bad choices outside of school. And they wind up, because of their choices, they wound up getting suspended and therefore couldn't be a part of their team. And it let their team down, and their team missed an opportunity as a whole to go on to the next level of competition. So it is important that you monitor your own behavior, you keep yourself in check, and as a team member, you build your teammates up, and you build each other up, and you hold each other accountable for their actions, making sure that they're not putting something out on social media that's going to embarrass the team. You're watching what you post, that you're not embarrassing yourself, your family, your school, or whatever team you represent.
I'm just going to add real quickly, above everything, just be a team player. We're all competitive of competitive nature. I'm very competitive, but I'm a team player because I know how good I am at things that I know how to do, that it's going to stand out for itself. I don't have to knock somebody over, be mad at someone because they have a position that I want. Just continue to work hard. You will get that position because seriously, whatever is for you, you will get it.
I want to make you aware of the resources that are in the back. We have Manatee Technical College, we have Centerstone, and MCR Health. Please stop by their tables before you leave. If you have any questions for our panelists, you can ask them at this time. There is a microphone on the left. If you have any questions, go to the microphone.
I don't have no questions, but I just want to appreciate the panel for this. And I'm gonna speak on behalf of the kids. They'll get better. This is their first time having to do something like this. So thank y'all for being patient with them. But, we're gonna show that we do know how to act. They're just a little restless. They used to running around by now, so forgive them on behalf of me. And appreciate y'all for coming out, and I'm gonna just encourage you all to come watch them in their element. You ain't gotta just come drop by, show your face. We have some nice, exciting games going on, even nice, exciting practices, and they pay attention more in practice than they doing here. So, y'all can get to see the real them. So once again, appreciate y'all. I ain't gonna stay long, but thank y'all.
Good evening. Question is, I heard you talking about the D1 and all of that and getting our kids prepared. How do we as parents, when our kids are coming into high school, get the application for the NCAA to get our kids on track to do better and be successful?
In order to get the students on track to have that level of success, you really have to start well before they get to high school. When a student gets to high school, they are already either on a college track or a non-college track. We want those students, there at Lincoln, we start offering high school courses when students are in the 7th grade. We have 7th graders that are currently taking high school level math courses. So we can't wait until they get to high school and say, now I'm going to get ready to try to go to college and play D1 sports. The foundation has to be set during the time that they're in elementary school. During the early years, early school learning, what they're doing is they're learning to read. That's from kindergarten through the 2nd grade. From the 3rd grade through the rest of their matriculation through school, they have to read to learn. If that student has not learned to read proficiently, by the time they get to the 3rd grade, they're already behind schedule. Now we're trying to teach them to read when they really should be reading to learn. Look at those test scores when they come out. We want them in elementary school, they need to be somewhere in the proficiency range, level 3, 4, 5, and moving up in those areas. Of course, the students now, they start playing basketball, football at 5, 6, 7 years old. We want our parents to be as engaged in their education more so than they are with their work on the athletic field. That on the athletic field, a lot of that can't even be taught. They have innate abilities and skills, but what they get in the classroom, it has to be taught, it has to be nurtured, it has to be rewarded intrinsically as well as extrinsically.
One more question. Your Brotherhood program, how do you per se get information? Is the information out to the communities? How do you start mentoring groups for our young men and our young women? I know we having this meeting tonight, but why stop here when we can keep moving? You understand what I'm saying?
Good evening. Twofold question. The first question that you asked about high school, and I agree with Mr. King, but I also believe, and I attended Lincoln Middle School, and in the 7th grade, I was a follower, and I made poor grades, and I made poor choices. But something happened to me, and my life turned around. And I decided that I did not want to be the class dunce, but I wanted to be the top student in that class. And the thing I think it starts with as a parent, you need to know all the available portals that are available to you from the school board. Secondly, you need to make sure that your child is academically sound and taking the appropriate classes, college prep courses. Then you need to make sure that if your son or daughter is an athlete, that back to the word discipline, they're eating properly, they're training properly, and the other thing that you have to do is also make sure that your child also has bought in that he wants to become, because you can believe and you might want things for your child, but your child has a want to excel and succeed himself. And if he really works at it, we have a kid right now that plays at Manatee High School, and we mentor him, the brotherhood at our church. We mentor him. He's a senior this year. He already has a scholarship, but that came from all the work that his parent did and all the work that the brethren did. Now, to B2B, we are an organization, and our arms are wide. We're willing to reach out to all of the students, all of the young men and young women within the community, however that may be. Maybe it's going through the executive office of the school board. Maybe it's talking to one of the brothers of the B2B, but we are more than happy to reach out and help any young man or any young woman in this community, because all of us have been helped by men like Coach Shannon, Coach Clemens, and many others have helped us along our way. So hopefully I've said something that might have answered your question. Thank you.
Excuse me. She asked a question about mentoring. Your question was regarding mentoring?
Yes.
Okay. Please talk to Mr. Bellamy. We used to do a program here called BLAST, Boys Life After School Training. We met here before COVID shut us down. We met here on every Monday at 6 p.m. for about an hour. We had all ages here. So talk to him and see what he thinks about kicking that off again.
Okay.
All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Edwards. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Let's give moderator a round of applause. Didn't she do a wonderful job? And I would like to truly thank you, because you could have been anywhere else, right here, right now. You're gaining the edge, because I guarantee you a lot of your peers are not doing what you're doing this evening. And you're learning, and you're listening. And we're going to do a lot more of these, because we're going to bridge the gap between community and ensure that we're meeting your needs. We're going to take the services down to your level. So parents, this will not be the last one. We promise you, we're going to be committed to helping you help your little one get to be all they need to be. At this time, I would like to recognize a special person in the audience, and she doesn't even know it's coming. But we have one of our very own teachers that's going to, at the end of this school year, she would have taught 50 years. Ms. Carnes, will you stand? And let's give her a round of applause. I think we could do a little bit better than that. 50 years. She has devoted her entire life. And Ms. Carnes, you got to blame Mr. Clark for that one. I ain't going to own that one. And she is a teacher at Palmetto High School. Our next goal, we need to ensure that no pizza is left in the building. We need to make sure as families leave, take a pizza with you, stop by and see Centerstone, Manatee Technical College, and MCR. We want you to visit that. Our last item of the day, hang tight, you're almost there. Our last item of the day is our closing by our very own Pastor Dexter McDonald at this time.
Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? I do honor Mr. Bellamy, to Mr. Tony Stevens, whom I know very well and been knowing for a long time, and to Mr. Omar Edwards, and to all of the B2B board members. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. To all of our teachers, to all our faculty that's here, to our staff, to our camera team that's here tonight. Let's give them a big round of applause. And as we close with a word of prayer, I look over our community and I think about our community and I think about the question that the young lady asked, and it was pretty much asking, who can we go to when we need help for our children? Well, there's a few people in this room that I want to say that you can always go to. One of those people is, and I've gone to him many times, and that's Mr. Omar Edwards. Let's give him a big round of applause. Another person in this room that we can go to, and I've gone to him, I've talked with him, and I've been knowing him since he was a youth, and that's Mr. Clark. Let's give him a big round of applause. And you can always go to Mr. King. Let's give him a big round of applause. And you can always go to Lieutenant Morrell. Let's give him a big round of applause. We want to thank you tonight for coming, and we're going to close in a word of prayer. We appreciate all the parents and all of the youth, and we appreciate your patience tonight. Let's bow our heads. Eternal, gracious, and loving God, our Father, as we enter into your presence once again, Father, we want to thank you for this community meeting. We want to thank you for the parents. We want to thank you for these beautiful young people. And Father, we pray that we as B2B and we as a school board and we as pastors would work together with the parents and with the community, that each of these young people may excel and become all that God has called them to be. We pray your blessings upon the Palmetto Youth Center. We pray your blessings upon every and each program that they have here. We pray, God, that we continue to move forward and you would give the increase. It is in Christ's name we pray. Amen and amen.